Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good morning.
Good
Good
evening.
morning.
Good
This
evening.
is good morning for you. I think we can go ahead. I think we have a quorum, so we call this meeting to order and begin. Then can I have a motion to approve the minutes? For the
Motion to
agenda?
minutes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second the motion to approve the minutes.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, let's start. Thank you guys for being present and on time. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the agenda. Second. Go ahead and start. Okay, so we're gonna start with the budget request letter. We already voted to approve this. We just had to look at, I guess, the language. And just for context, I'm gonna read it out loud for the public because I don't think they would have access to this particular letter. And so let me pull up the letter to read. And so the letter in relation to the request for the budget is as follows. Dear County Executive Alsobrooks, County Council Chair, and members of the County Council, with this letter, the Fair Election Fund Commission sends with you the formal budget recommendation for monies to be included in the FY 2025 budget for the Fair Election Fund. This recommendation is one of the primary responsibilities of the Commission. We arrived at our recommendation following a review of the law and 2 fiscal assessments of the program conducted by county staff and discussions with state and county officials. We recommend the allocation of $2 million to the fund for 2025. When added to the $400,000 appropriated in FY 2024 and the additional amount of $1.25 million that we recommend for 2026, the fund will reach the total that we believe is necessary for the successful election cycle of $3.65 million. Our commission is charged to oversee the rollout and successful operation of the Prince George's County Fair Elections program, beginning with the 2026 election cycle. The fund will provide matching public monies to candidates running for council or executive seats who opt in and qualify for the county's Fair Elections small donor program. Candidates qualify by raising a minimum number of small contributions of a certain prescribed amount from county residents. Matching funds are allocated using a formula specified in the law, CB-099-2018, as amended by CB-076-2023. Adequate funding is essential to the success of this program. A well-funded and well-run program will affirm Prince George's County's commitment to grassroots democracy and support for the community-based candidates whose campaigns are solely financed with small dollar contributions from Prince George's County residents and specified match of tax dollars from the county. In 2026, Prince George's County will join Montgomery and Howard counties who have had small donor public financing election programs in the previous election cycle. 2 fiscal analyses have been produced by county agencies in October 2018 by the Office of Audits and Inspections and in November 2023 by the Council's Budget and Policy Analysis Division. The minimum fund amount identified for the review in both analyses is $3.65 million for the 2026 election cycle. This figure was arrived at by assuming that the 2 candidates would opt in and qualify for the full public matching for the executive race and the 11 council races. Other scenarios in the 2018 analysis were based on the numbers of the candidates who filed to run in prior election cycles, and as a result, the larger required funding for these total range from the lowest $3.65 million figure to the $12.125 million figure, with the largest assuming that all candidates opted for public financing. The November 23 report examined for the data in 2018 and 2022 for publicly financed funded elections in Montgomery County, finding that roughly a third of the candidates who filed in Montgomery County chose to run publicly financed campaigns. Of those who did run, roughly a third raised sufficient funds to reach the maximum number and close it in. In the event that the allocated funds are not adequate to meet the demand of amounts specified in the legislation, the public financing law requires that the matching amounts be reduced for all candidates. Should this occur, community-supported candidates who would qualify for the program may find themselves severely restricted in their ability to compete with traditionally funded campaigns. Such an outcome would reflect poorly on the county, and a bad precedent would be set. On the contrary, overinvesting in the fund would not be a waste of public monies, as that any funds that remain in the account for publicly financed candidates would revert back to the fund after the election, and the fund itself could either be carried over to the next election cycle or absorbed into the general fund and reallocated at the time for the 2030 elections. Finally, we know and appreciate that the budget you have to balance the budget for the FY 2025, and we urge that you see our request as an important investment to expand citizen involvement in county government. For perspective, the total amount recommended here for the 2026 election cycle is 0.086% of the county's FY 2024 fund, and spread over 4 years of the cycle would be 0.02% of the general fund. This would be equivalent to of a family with a $50,000 annual salary allocating $10 per year. Prior to the passage of the Fair Elections Fund legislation in 2018, council discussions cited that the need for adequately funding the program as a reason to amend the bill on the final day of passage and postpone the start of the program until 2022 to the 2026 elections. However, no monies were added to the fund in the subsequent 4 budget cycles, and the first and only tranche was $400,000 that was added in FY 2024. This leaves us with the need to allocate $3.25 million total in FY 2025 and FY 2026 for the minimum program funding for this program, with the understanding that more can be allocated as needed. To ensure the success of this new and innovative program, to engage and empower voters, and to incentivize small donor campaigns, we urge the county executive and the county council to demonstrate a strong commitment to the grassroots funding of elections by including the $2 million in the FY 2025 budget for the Fair Election Fund, with the intention to allocate an additional $1.25 million in the 2026 FY budget. This would give candidates and voters the confidence that the program is viable. Let's not risk falling short of the county's commitment to fair and equitable elections at this time, when confidence in the government has been eroded across the country and democratic principles themselves are under assault as never before. The commission welcomes questions and dialogues and other fair election matters. Thank you for your consideration. That is the letter.
Chair, there's a small modification that should be made on here. It's very small. It's the first page, the last paragraph, first sentence. That's the Office of Audits and Investigations. You have audits and inspections. It's actually audits and investigations.
You said the second page. Can you?
No, first page. I said first page, last paragraph. And it's the first sentence.
Okay.
Okay.
We can make that edit. Thank you.
Great.
We also, and I'm assuming that with that you have reviewed the letter itself, Mr. Attorney Maddox.
That is correct.
Okay. And so this is the letter that we want to send to the county council. Does anyone have any feedback? For context, I thought it was important that, and so did others as we drafted this, it was important to make sure that we put a historical context on the bill itself. All the information, I'm a big fan of giving more information so that once I get in front of everybody, it's just kind of like, listen, this is everything. And then giving context as to why it's important to fully fund it. Now, I will be transparent. The job of us as a commission is to tell them exactly how to fully fund it, why they need to fund it in this capacity. And I want to say to a degree advocate for it, but I don't want to necessarily use that word. But just in regards to what we know about the bill, the intent of the law, and how much we need to fully fund it and really roll it out appropriately. it would be just to kind of stand behind that disposition, and that's the point of the letter. Does anyone have any feedback?
I think it's a well-written letter. I really like how it's written, but I also like the fact that we put in there that it's with the understanding that if more money is needed, we can go back. Is that correct? To
Yes, ma'am.
the funds. Good
Mhm.
job. Excellent job.
Thank you. Shout out to Satitra, because she definitely put her full crafting in this. And I really think it's just a really important letter. And I think it's very good that we just fully explain everything about it from that perspective. So we have already voted on this and approved it. We just had language that we needed to put in there. The other part about it was to make sure that legal reviewed it. If we could just make that change, Ms. Warner Wiggins, if we could just make that change to it, that he had said, Office of Investigation. I'm sorry, Mr. Maddox.
Yeah, so because you're amending it and this is the one you voted on in principle. So now that you're making this correction, I would recommend just doing a fresh vote on the letter as amended.
Okay. Do I have a motion to vote? Do I have a motion to?
Before you do that, can I make us another suggestion? So on the second page of the letter, the paragraph that starts with, on the contrary, over investing in the fund would not be a waste of public monies. I'd recommend that last part, the last phrase, be taken out. The part that reads, and the fund itself could either be carried over to the next election cycle or absorbed into the general fund and reallocated. The reason is because the legislation already indicates that this is a non-lapsing fund, meaning that the intent is for the appropriation to carry over into the next election cycle. So it would not, just the language around it being absorbed back into the general fund is not accurate.
So removing the fund itself could either be carried over, removing that portion of it, and then also changing are you, Ms. Wiggins, Ms. Warner Wiggins, can I ask you to just track the changes that we were talking about right here? Okay. So the investigation part and then that last part.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sort of I haven't done a deep study of how the budget process works. So for my own satisfaction, I'd like some clarification. So, I mean, I know that there was a difference between Montgomery and Prince George's County and the other counties. Howard County required a referendum before they could introduce and pass the legislation because they didn't have the ability to carry over, even within the 4-year cycle, they didn't have the ability to carry over a pot of money the way Montgomery and Prince George's did. So they needed to actually have a referendum to create this process for themselves, because otherwise, if you allocated money over a 4-year period, the money would simply revert to the general, to the general pot. I'm just going to call that in colloquial terms. And they would have to reallocate every year, and that's not true for Prince George's. So, I mean, you're saying the legislation says it remains in the public financing part, in the public financing fund, and the county cannot take it out of that. Is that what you're saying? Or the county can choose to actively make a decision to take it out if needed? How does that work?
My understanding is that would require another piece of legislation allowing the funds to no longer lapse, essentially, because as it is right now, it's non-lapsing. And I don't know if we do have Kanika Bynum from the Office of Management and Budget. So I don't know if she has any feedback, or also Mr. Maddox, if you have any feedback on that. But my understanding is because it specifies that it's non-lapsing, that there would have to be another piece of legislation allowing it to lapse.
So my context, again, I mean, perhaps others have followed this more closely, but I know that Montgomery County at one point allocated $9 million and found they only spent $3 million. So did they just leave the other 6 in there? Does anybody know how that worked for them? Because they've done it for 2 cycles.
I don't know.
I can say I don't know how it works in Montgomery County, but the way that it's written right now, using the example that you just said, if we put $9 million in there and then only spent 3, that 6 million would just stay there. So the way that the law is written right now, those funds would just carry over year to year until it's time for them to be used again, and they wouldn't go back to the general fund, or they wouldn't be reallocated. They would just stay there purely for the fair election fund.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, and that's something that the council could figure out what they wanted to do with after we've gone through a cycle. So yes, I agree. We should probably take that language out. It doesn't apply to us.
Okay, so we're taking off that last line, and the fund itself could either be carried over to the next election cycle or absorbed into the general fund and reallocated in the time for the elections of 2023. And then we're also changing it to the Office of Investigations. Can we?
So maybe we want to say that any remaining funds would, any funds would just remain in the, as per the current legislation, any funds would simply remain in the fair elections fund and can get carried over to the next cycle. Right, which means you have to put in less in the next cycle, possibly, or maybe it'll be a very successful program and we'll use it all up. But so we should just change that language to something more appropriate that reflects the current language.
What we have is, I think what she's referring to is in taking that part out, it would still be any funds remaining in the accounts of publicly financed candidates would revert back to the fund after election. And then you could add to the point with Ms. Warner-Wiggins and to the point that you're making as a teacher, you could add, and the funds would remain in the fair election fund account itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, something to that effect, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Be used in the next cycle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Office of Audits and Investigations. Office of Audits and Investigations. Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Ms. Warner-Wiggins, I'm trusting you to have tracked those changes. All right. Let's go ahead and vote on that. So, can I have a motion to accept the letter as amended?
I move that we approve the letter with the recommended changes.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All right. It has passed. Okie dokie. All right.
May I ask the question? Do we have a letterhead from the Fair Election Funds Commission for the letter to go out?
That is a Ms. Warner-Wiggins question. But if we don't have one, can we create one?
Yeah, we can work on that. I don't know if it would be in time for this letter, because it would require some design work to create actual letterhead.
Okay.
We can, of course, we have Office of Finance letterhead that potentially could be used, but or we could just send the letter without, a formal letterhead. It would just be using kind of standard letter format.
I think. Go ahead, Mrs. Williams.
I think for this letter, right, we can use, like you said, the standard letter. But since we're on our commission, I was recommending that we have a standard letter that says Fair Funds Commission, and then also put the members of the commission on the side of the letter, the president, the chair, the vice chair, and then the other members on the side, so everybody will know who is involved with the Fair Election Funds Commission, please.
Agreed.
Okay. I will have to look into that, because again, that's not something that I myself would personally be able to do. It would require some design work. So I'll have to find out which agency or maybe outside entity we can partner with for that.
Right.
So maybe we could just do that for this letter, Jana, just put Fair Elections Fund on top and then put everybody's name below, as Diane has suggested, and then get that.
I mean, that's fine with me. I'm very easygoing about stuff like that. We can put Fair Elections at the top for that letterhead. And then to your point, Ms. Warner-Wiggins, we can create something more official later on, but have Fair Elections Commission for Prince George's County at the top. And then on the side listing all of the members, and then the letter itself would be in the body. That's totally fine. And then if we could send that out, if we could send the, the mock-up of what would go out before we could send it out so the members can see it, approve the spelling of their names, approve, because I know Mrs. Williams goes by A Diane Williams. So just making sure that everything is up and right before we send it out. We would probably want to send it out within the next week or two, just because we know the budget cycle is budget cycling. Okay, cool beans. Thank you both, Teacher and Mrs. Williams. And so then we also have this next letter. It is the prospective candidate letter for review. Again, I'm just reading this out because the public doesn't have access to this letter physically. So
Yeah. They just finished. Take a picture.
yes, Miss Nelson.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, no worries, no worries. So so this is the letter. I'm gonna try to read it a little bit faster, y'all. Wordy. All right. So this notice is coming to you because you were a candidate with a campaign finance entity that was created or used in Prince George's County in the election prior to the current 2026 election cycle. The county's new Fair Election Fund will provide matching funds to qualifying candidates for the county executive and county council seats for the 2026 election cycle. Should candidates for those offices choose to opt in to public financing, there are limits on the expenditures that they can make from the existing campaign finance entities, including a deadline of June 30th, 2024 to cease using funds from existing accounts. This and other restrictions are summarized below. And just to pause right here, remember we had to create this letter and we want to send it out to candidates so that they can know what's going on in relation to the fair election and the restrictions that come very quickly in the next 6 months or so. So I just wanted to recap that. The publicly financed election program established by the county in 2018 is similar to those operating in Montgomery County in 2018 and 2022 and Howard County in 2022. Candidates here may opt in to finance their campaigns for the county executive and county council offices using small contributions from county residents. Once candidates have reached a qualifying threshold for the program, the contributions they receive from county residents are matched with public funds from the county. The attached documents show the qualifications and thresholds, the match rate, and the maximum public funds for each race. In 2023, the County Council amended the 2018 legislation. Most amendments were technical in nature, but there are a few substantive amendments that we wish to bring to your attention. The 2023 bill passed by the County Council, CB-076-2023, is attached with important portions of the legislation highlighted on pages 4 and 5. Please read through those points carefully, and here are some relevant points. Candidates who have not made any expenditures or transfers from their campaign accounts in the current election cycle are fully eligible to establish and run a publicly financed campaign in 2026. Campaigns that have received contributions or made expenditures or transfers from campaign accounts in this 2026 election cycle have the following restrictions placed on their participation in the public financing program for 2026. Candidates are ineligible for the program if they have already spent or transferred in excess of $25,000 for the county executive office, $10,000 for the county council at large office, or $5,000 for the county council district office. Those who have spent or transferred amounts less than specified in the section above may participate in the 2026 public financing program. Once they have filed notice of intent 24 months before the 2026 primary election, which is June 30th, 2024, and they freeze their existing accounts and accept no further contributions nor make any further expenditures from the existing account. This letter is a summary of some of the factors that disqualifying those with the existing campaign finance entities from participating in the county's new publicly funded campaign program that incentivizes small donor participation. In no way is this intended to provide legal or political advice to any campaign or candidate. Consult the law and state and the county and election boards as soon as possible for complete information and with any questions so that you can fully understand the campaign finance options available to you and others for some of our 2026 election. The Fair Election Commission, whose volunteer members were appointed by the county council and county executive, is charged with the overseeing in the rollout and successful operation of the Prince George's County Fair Election Fund and programming. I see Mr. Maddox has come on, so there must be some changes. We welcome your assistance in publicizing this program, and we welcome your this exciting new effort to advance grassroots democracy in Prince George's County. Information on our work and meetings, which are open to the public. We usually held the second Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. and can be found on www. Boom. Yes, Mr. Maddox.
Yes. I would recommend, when you said consult the law, I would say I would say consult the legislation, and if you still want to keep the law in there, I would still put in parentheses sections 10.322 through 10.333 of the county code, so that way they can see what law you're talking about.
So where you have it, I'm gonna go right to that point. You're saying consult the law. You're saying take that out and put consult the legislation, correct?
Yes.
I wonder if we can combine both of your suggestions. We can put please consult the legislation, and then the brackets that you just
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then put section 10-322 through 10.333 of the Prince George's County Code. That way they can say, okay, this is where the law is. And they can go there. Okay, that should help them.
Yeah, Ms. Warner-Wiggins, did you get that? Okay. Go ahead, teacher.
Do you recommend that we attach the copy of the enrolled bill? I mean, that's how I would sort of like it if I was receiving this versus.
I understand what you're saying. However, at some point, I mean, you could, but right now it has been, it's going to be in the process of being codified. I mean, you can do it as an attachment. That's no big deal. But ultimately, if there is a change down the road,
yes,
it won't be reflected in that legislation if there's a change down the road. So I'm saying by giving the sections, the changes will be done to that section, because at some point CB 76 may be further changed.
Right.
I wonder
that's a good point. And I mean, just further to that, since I did a bunch of scribbling on this letter as well. Did we get the facts right? I mean, is this the process? Is that you're actually disqualified if you have spent more than 5,000? I mean, those limits for the various positions. Is that the way the bill reads? That's how it read to me, but I wanted to verify that.
Hold on for a second.
Okay. That's how it read to me as well. While he's looking that up, Ms. Warner-Wiggins, I wonder. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna say county code, so. I wonder if at the end of this paragraph where we have consult the law, which we're changing to consult the legislation, if at the end of this paragraph, we can put in parentheses where you would find it on the website to go to the county code. We don't have to put the full thing, but just kind of like, find like www, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Just at the end from the perspective of, we're saying the county code, but then they'll be able to click or type in, this is where you go to find the county code itself. Which I would hope that if you're running for county council, county executive, or at large, you would know where to go already. But just in case you don't, there you go.
Jane, on top of page 2, you could change the word disqualifying to disqualifying.
Okay. Where it says this letter is a summary of factors that disqualify those from existing. Okay. Maybe add where it says Ms. Warner-Wiggins, where it says in no way is this intended. Maybe put in no way is this letter intended to just insert the word letter there as well.
Hold on.
Or we can call it notification.
Yeah. Is this notification? Yeah, let's do that. And then also for this letter, I know we want to send this letter out within 2 weeks as well, just to like let the candidates know as much as possible. So the formatting that Mrs. Williams brought up, can we do that as well with the fair elections at the top and then the names on the side, and then that's as we wait to get an actual fair elections official header. And then this, just I know Mr. Maddox is still reviewing, just to confirm, this is the letter, but it would go like the responsibility of sending it out falls on I know you're shaking your head, Ms. Warner, can help me. So
Yeah,
it doesn't fall on.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Office of Finance can send it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just want to make sure.
Just to get back to Ms. Wiggins on that. So when I look at the campaign finance website, there's folks who, who have had campaign accounts, and then those accounts may not have submitted the annual reports. I mean, they're in various stages of disuse, I guess. Because candidates have filed and not done anything since. So is there some way to make sure that people absolutely receive the letter? I mean, is there, or we just go by whatever is in their campaign finance account and send it to them then? How does it work?
I mean, that's all I would have the ability to do.
Yeah.
I think also though, to your points, teacher, and I was thinking the same thing. Mr. Maddox, I see you. 1 second. I definitely think I want to be fair to Ms. Warner Wiggins and the staff of the Office of Finance. If you ain't update something, that's on you. But what we can do is to make sure that both of these letters are put on the website itself. Once they're approved and once they're sent out, they're both put on the website as well. And then, within our own, sphere and list of contacts, just let everyone know as much as possible. But, if you are a candidate that has already won, some of the onus on this is you. Mr. Maddox?
Yeah, you were mentioning the disqualifying characteristics. Could you tell me what they were again? You in your letter?
Yeah, it says the 25,000, if you have already spent or transferred in excess of $25,000 for the county executive office, $10,000 for the county council at large office.
Okay.
And then $5,000 for the county council district office.
Gotcha.
And then, so that's the first one. And then B would read as those who have spent or transferred amounts less than specified in the section above may participate in the program, provided they have filed notice 24 months in advance of the 2026 cycle, which would be June 30th, 2024, and they freeze their existing amounts and accept no further contributions or make any further expenditures from the existing account.
Okay, I concur with that because I see it on page 5, lines 7 through 9. So I saw the disqualifying amounts, and yeah, that does coincide with the legislation.
I have one other question, Mr. Maddox.
Yes.
This part right here where it says they freeze their existing accounts and accept no further contributions, nor make any further expenditures from their existing account. Is that at the time that they file their notice of intent or by June 30th, 2024? So let's say they file their notice of intent February 15th. Is it by that time that they can't, that they freeze the account and, such, or is it by the June 30th date?
Freeze the pre-existing.
So, I mean, my understanding is when you file, you freeze your account. That's how it is in all other jurisdictions.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna read on page 5, line 10. The applicant's candidate certifies to the state board that the candidate will freeze the pre-existing campaign finance entity and will not accept any additional contributions. So at the point that they make the certification as a state board, they're saying that they will do that, and they're also saying that they will not make any additional expenditures or transfers from such a campaign finance entity. So from the time they make that certification,
Okay.
they have to freeze it at that point because they're giving certification to the state board that they're going to freeze that, and they can't accept any more additional contributions nor make any additional expenditures from that campaign finance entity from the time that they do that certification.
So then to that point, this is why I asked, and I hear you, teacher. So this is why I asked that. Ms. Warner Wiggins, we need to add a line where it says they freeze their existing account and accept no further contributions that at the moment of certification or
To the state board.
To the state board.
Yes.
Like we need to add that line at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment they provide certification of participating in this program to the state board.
Yes.
I just want that to be clear.
That's
to
fine.
them.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
Can we
and I
say,
guess we also need to make sure it's clear that it's that in combination with the other piece.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other piece I read. Yeah.
That they still can't exceed those
Transfer.
numbers.
They can't
Right.
transfer funds and all of that. That's
Right.
correct.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
They're still responsible for if they go over those thresholds, even if it's prior to filing the notice of intent, then
right.
they're disqualified.
Right.
Mhm.
So Ms. Warner Wiggins, you're talking about not accepting additional contributions,
Right.
nor making any additional expenditures or transfers
Mhm.
from such campaign finance entities. So those two things as well.
Right. From
Yeah.
there, hold on, Ms. Williams. I think Ms. Williams has something she wanted to say. Ms. Williams, can I
Okay.
just finish this one thought and then pull from you? Okay. So they freeze their existing accounts and accept no further contributions, nor make any further expenditures or transfers from the existing account once they have certified with the State Board of Elections that they are participating in this account. And then some sort of caveat.
Well,
I don't have the language.
they're actually certifying to the state board that they will freeze
Right.
the
But
so that it as a part of the application process. Yes.
right. But then I guess to the point that Ms. Warner Wiggins was making, another little caveat of like the first part of not going over 25,000, 10,000. So the amounts previously referenced still apply to the time frame, something like that. Miss Williams?
Wait, I think you did it, because I was going to say at the time of certification, but you said once of certification, so it doesn't.
I think it's even before. So like, let's say, and this is, we can all jump in to figure this out. But let's say I ran publicly financed, I get this, or I know I'm going to, and I get this letter, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna run up, I'm gonna run up as much as I can in my account, and spend it out as much as possible prior to June 30th. Right.
Whenever
I know,
you do that certification.
Right.
That's
I know.
Okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I want to make clear to these people that you can't do that. I can't go and get, $50,000 from somebody, spend out 25,000, and then on June 30th say, you know what, I'm gonna get publicly financed, and like we want to make that clear in this letter.
Right. So I think the language saying at the time of certification to the state board that you will freeze the account.
That you will freeze and have not
right.
Spent or transferred in the excess of the amounts previously aforementioned.
Well, what it is, it's going to be, and this is nuanced. What it's going to be is, it's going to be when you do that certification. Say you did it on June 10th. Okay, you do it on June 10th. The certification to state board. At that point, no monies should go transferring or monies coming in or anything. You're saying because what you're certifying to is that you will freeze them. You haven't froze them yet, but you say you will freeze them. But because you're making that commitment, it basically, when you do that certification, you've basically stopped time, and you're stuck right at that point, and you can't do anything beyond June 10th.
Right.
or June 10th or beyond.
Okay. So teacher?
Yeah, just a couple of things. So just to get to Mr. Maddox's point, first that everybody who files publicly financed, they have to freeze previous accounts and open a new account. So the new account is the public financed account, right? So the old one sits there and it's obvious to everybody that nothing's going in and nothing's coming out of that. So that's the way that is done. And the reason for this language in CB 76, it actually arose, to my understanding, from experience that has happened in other counties and advice from the state board on how prior accounts may be used. And the only concern about this is that this has come into effect in December of 2023, when the entire election cycle started in January 2023. So it is informing people, maybe there are people who want to run publicly financed and will be informed after the fact that they shouldn't have done something. But that is the way the legislation is written. And that's why it's even more important that we let everybody know that you are unfortunately disqualified if you have spent or transferred large amounts of money. But the understanding also is that this is a community-driven candidate who's running for public financing, using this public service that is offered by the county. And yes, these are the constraints that are put on it. And typically large contributions and large changes from one account to the other are done by people who run campaigns in more traditional ways. And so hopefully it won't impact anybody. So that's kind of where we are now. This is the current legislation. And we do have to inform people that, you know, that time is short for them to make this decision. You can make the decision later on if you are a new candidate, if you are not spending any money, et cetera, et cetera. But if you intend to spend any money, then you need to know what the limits are and that the deadline is, very shortly.
Yeah, I think that's why it's imperative that we get this language right and vote on this now so that we can send this out. Ms. Warner-Wiggins, can you add a third portion? I know on 4B, we have the 1, we have the 2, and then on the 2 that we're adding that part about, to this point or whatever, no funds aforementioned. Can you add a 3 that, and that you open a new account specifically for fair election funds? I think it's important that we spell it out. Again, I'm a fan of giving it more information as opposed to less. So like a third part of that. Okay. And then at the bottom, you would input the Fair Elections website. I think there's a little thing that just says, okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and vote on this letter as amended. Can I get a motion to approve this letter as amended?
I move that we approve the letter as amended.
Thank you so much. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, let's move on. Yay, we might get everybody home before. Okay. So the last 2 parts in conclusion, which is just us saying goodbye, would be the program marketing and information dissemination and discussion. So 2 things. For the budget appropriation letter, we know that we're gonna get that all together and then send that out within the next week to the appropriate parties, as well as post that on the website. The same thing for the candidate letter as well. But just in relation to who the Fair Election Commission is, our job, what we do, as well as informing the community about the Fair Elections program, that's kind of where we're at right now in regards to this particular discussion. So one of the things, and our partner, Dan, couldn't make it tonight, but he did send some suggestions. One was to create, and Ms. Warner-Wiggins, if you can track this as action items, one would be to create an outreach calendar for the remainder of the year in regards to when commissioners are available, and then B, what actual activities we will be doing on specific dates. This can range from in-person activities throughout the district or virtual activities. We meet once a month. We could dedicate one of our meetings to particularly just a meeting, like an open forum to the public, and where we're informing them about the role of the fair elections. But one was an outreach calendar. Anyone's thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was too. And he said it's important to set targeted dates for participating in briefings and set up forums. I do think, in suggestion to this outreach calendar, I do think it would behoove us to reach out to organizations throughout the county, such as the League of Women Voters and the NAACP, just county organizations, and ask them, hey, if you're having a meeting or if you're having something, can we come out and speak and give a presentation on fair elections? Satitra?
Yeah, just to add a thought to that, the county maintains a list of registered civic organizations with emails and so on. And so we could find out, get that, and then devise kind of a letter that explains what this is, get it out to them, and have folks contact us with questions and so on. And, I think that would be a good way to spread the information out, and then reach out to maybe other organizations that work on political issues and inform them and have them inform members. So we don't know who's going to run and what their backgrounds are and who, and so we want to make sure this reaches as wide an audience as possible, and maybe sort of inquire with Montgomery and Howard how they did this, if we've missed anything along the way, and let people know. But the website, and then disseminating this and through the civic list would be good.
Okay.
So perhaps consider, I don't know who to talk to about it, so, but the county executive's newsletter, have a write up in there.
We could. We could ask her. It's her newsletter, and she,
I know she has
highlights.
a wide reach, and then maybe even council members as well. You're just trying to get information out there.
I think, to your point, I think the county council, they have a newsletter as well. I think definitely asking them, as well as individual county council members. So to your point, Ms. Nelson, Ms. Warner-Wiggins, if we can have, so we have an action item about the outreach calendar, and with that, I just want to send out a calendar and ask that the members put on their availability on the calendar. But then also, can we put an action item to draft a letter to the county executive, the county council, because it's called Council Connections.
Yes, I just yep.
So a letter to them asking them to share out information about the fair elections, but then also another action item for another letter to go out to civic associations and organizations throughout Prince George's County, asking that we come to present to them. So that'll be two separate letters for that, for action items. And that's just for me to know to type in, right?
Chair Parker, do you know the status of the 7th member?
I was told that she was supposed to be brought on in January. So we got to the 31st.
Okay. So someone has at least been selected.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I just know that that the county executive has, I guess, said that she would put someone on the 31st, and we look forward to them joining our merry little bunch. Right. Look forward to you coming on. Okay, so those are the 3 action items. And Ms. Warner-Wiggins, if you could send those to me so I can know it's on the top of my brain. But then also, we also need to start drafting and completing briefing materials and presentations for not just the civic association meetings, but to go before the county council. I believe we would not go before the county council. We'd go before the county council sitting as district, because I think that's where it came through. Someone can correct me, but I think that's where it came through. It's the same thing. They're just sitting as the district council versus It's the same, it's all the same members. Or
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Maddox
don't
will
think
correct
it
me.
came through the district council. I think it came through the county council.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Miss? What did you say? You said before. You just said someone. The district council sits on land use matters.
Okay, so then it didn't come before then. I apologize.
So I mean, the county council, you know, okay, the county council has alter egos. In other words, there's the Board of Health. That's the county council sitting as the Board of Health. Then you have the county council sitting as the district council. So you have these basically three entities, which all the council members are all a member of. So that's why you see references maybe to district council, but it is the county council because this is not zoning legislation. This is regular legislation. So you would be before the county council
as a whole.
Okay.
So we need to thank you, Mr. Maddox, and thank you, Satitra. So we need to, as another action item, come up with briefing materials and presentations for them. That I think would be it could be. I think. See, I'm always a fan of giving everybody everything. But I'm thinking about maybe there's two sets of presentations, one for the civic associations and other groups, and then one specifically for the county council. Also, so teacher, I see you 1 second. Also, in regards to the briefing materials and presentations for them, also making sure that we draft a letter, that would be another action item, in regards to saying, hey, we submitted to you our budget, when can we come before you for the presentation? Because I do think it's important that we actually come before them and present our findings and discuss what we've been talking about and things of that nature, and ask for that in February at the latest. So teacher?
Yeah, so a little bit just backtracking on what you said. I think there are too many civic associations for us to go present. And what we should have is maybe some kind of a slideshow that we can distribute to the civic associations and have folks contact us if they have questions, and maybe then update the slideshows, etc. And have them distribute that to their membership. So to make it as, to distribute items as easily as we can to as many people as we can, which also brings me back to the question to Ms. Warner-Wiggins about the website. Do you know how material gets added? I mean, are we competent enough to do that? Is it just simple website? Can we add stuff, or do we have to send it to staff, or how does it work?
We have financial systems staff, so within the Office of Finance. So essentially IT staff
Okay.
to the Office of Finance that would post things to our website.
Okay, so we can just send items and consult with them on whether it is refined enough for them to post, or they need us to do anything else, and they can work on it. Great. So we could have contacts with them. Then, should we send it through you, or does it go?
You could send it through me.
Okay.
Yes. If there's a reason that you would prefer to have direct contact, let me know, but feel free to send it through me.
Okay.
So teacher, to your point, we can send, what we can do, because I really feel like it should be a hybrid. What we can do is we can send them slides and offer to present. And I don't mind going and talking to every civic association or whatever. I don't really mind that. From the perspective of having been a former educator, you think some things you think you created the most wonderful, clear presentation, and you send it out, and then somebody comes back to you and says, but I did not understand anything on slide 2. So I think it would be imperative of when we reach out to the civic associations, yes, we can say, hey, this is the Fair Election Fund. Here are some slideshows to explain it. However, we are available on this date or whatever to coordinate with you to come out and speak. And again, I can do that, or we can partner as a group and decide who would want to do that. That's fine as well. There may be civic associations that Ms. Nelson, I know Ms. Nelson is a part of sorority. She might be able to speak to her sorority and things of that nature. Ms. Williams is a part of a lot of organizations. She might, you know, be the one to want to come and talk to those organizations. So I just think it behooves us to give the option of either one, because again, you can think that you've created the most basic slideshow and they will have questions. And it's better to just be present and explain or give them the option to do that. So I think we'll just do a combination of both for that. And that'll be something that we have to highlight in the letter. We'll work backwards in regards to the dates once I get everyone's availability. And then, all right, we already talked about asking another action item. There's a lot of things I'm gonna be doing this week. Another action item would be, or I will share this out with the group, would be to have what we want, Ms. Nelson, to your point, what we want the county council and the okay, and it'll be 418 that we'll talk to. It'll be all right. Or they can just do, listen, we can lump them together. Hey, all 10 of y'all civic associations want to do this? Cool. It'll be fine. Trust me, it'll be fine. Ms. Nelson, we need to draft, to the point that you're making, we need to draft specifically what we want the county council to share out in their connections, as well as what we would want the county executive to share out. So we'd have to draft something, just kind of say, hey, you know, we know you have these newsletters that go out to the community. We want to get out the information around this particular thing. This is what we'd like to share out specifically. And then, so, okay. Basic PowerPoint template, comprehensive and support, blah, blah, blah. I think we already talked about that. So one of the things that we also do want to create is a frequently asked questions sort of thing, FAQ. We want to make sure that we have that as well, from the perspective of, to the point, if we, to teacher's point, if we're not able to touch all these civic associations physically, that we are making sure that when we give them the PowerPoint, as much as questions that we feel like would be the frequently asked ones as possible are in that particular presentation. So a frequently asked questions page as well. This is going to be a busy month in January because I feel like all these action items, if we can get them done, which we can, we're a solid group. If we could get them all done in January and prep for February in relation to sending out these letters, being available and getting the information out, it would be good. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? And do you have any other suggestions in regards to kind of like getting the information out for the program?
I think getting the info onto the website would be like the first step. So we have everything consolidated and in one place. That we can direct everybody to look at. So we need to be satisfied. We have all the information we need. We can have that checked out by, I don't know what the state board has. Ms. Warner-Wiggins, do you know what the state board has for other jurisdictions? Is there something they maintain?
I'm not sure if there's something they maintain, but they do have links to, if I remember correctly, essentially a summary guide, which is essentially like a manual for the program for the jurisdictions, and then a frequently asked questions. Howard County, and I'm not sure about Montgomery, actually did Montgomery did too, I believe, a video presentation as well. So
do they create the manual or do we create the manual? The state board creates the manual for us?
No, the county needs to create the manual.
The county has to, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that piece of it, using the other jurisdictions as a guide.
Right.
So probably in advance of our February meeting, I can share a draft of that, so that you can see kind of for the most part, with the exception of some details, the programs are run relatively the same. So it kind of explains the program, explains how to, for instance, file a notice of intent, explains various deadlines, things along those lines. And then, of course, the FAQ, you know, condenses it and highlights, you know, some of the more common questions.
If I will say, the manual can help us a lot with the creation of some of these presentations and stuff like that. So it would be helpful if that, I know you've been working on it for a while, but it would be helpful if we could have that so that we can kind of use that as a tool for the presentations. Something the teacher said also came up in my thought. You know how on social media, when you post something to Instagram, you can have like these slides and it goes over and over and over. Like you just, you know, slide it over. I'm sounding real technologically not there, but when you go on Instagram, you click a post, they have some of these posts that has multi-slides to explain something. I'm wondering if we can have that on the website as well.
I can inquire. I don't know. Yeah.
It's essentially like a mini PowerPoint presentation, but you're like sliding over. I would love to see that on it. Just from the perspective of as people are coming to the website, it's very interactive. It gives them a feel of getting the information in a quick and concise process as opposed to kind of clicking on all these different things. They can like scroll through that particular portion. And then when you talk about a video, the
large part of the video was actually just explaining MD Chris. So explaining the technical side of submitting receipts and things along those lines and getting reimbursed through the program. That was a large part of those videos. And those would, for the most part, because all the jurisdictions are using the same state system, that kind of information would more or less be the same from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. The only difference might be if there's some differences in, for instance, if we require something on our receipts that they don't require, you know, but other than that, the technical piece of it would be the same from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Mrs. Williams, did you want to say something?
If we're going to have, perhaps we may have virtual meetings, presentations virtually. And here I go again asking, but I would like to have background screens for all of us. So when we're officially, you know, in public, we will look uniform and professional. So if you could check with whoever handles that we have a background screen for the Fair Election Funds Commission, please.
And can that align with what we talked about in regards to, I guess, the design? It could be with the same. Okay.
Okay. I'll ask about
Mrs.
that.
Williams and Mrs. Nelson, come on. Okay. Perfect. So teacher, did you want to say something?
No, I just said I like the background Ms. Williams has.
I do too. I do too. Particularly if we're doing the virtual. I love that. I am a fan of Mrs. Williams' background just in general, the one that she has now with the flowers, but I guess we'll all just be on the same thing. What'd you say, Ms. Williams?
I think we all want to be professional, and I think we need to start calling each other commissioners. So when we get out in public, we will we'll be used to addressing each other as commissioner or chair. Commissioner Nelson. Okay. Chair Parker. And I can't pronounce your name, Commissioner Shanita.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of it, right? So I stay mysterious.
It is Satitra Belachandran. I believe I said it right. But Commissioner Satitra, Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Williams, that works.
And Ms. Williams, thank you for everything that you do to assist us.
I have a growing to-do list.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't you add another?
Well, no, they don't hurt. No. So this is funny, but the action list is literally just for her to write down and send to me. So like this is there's like maybe, there's like maybe 2 or 3 things on there from actually Ms. Warner Wiggins, but most of it is kind of like for me. And guess what? I'm going to disseminate it out to the group. So we can all be a part of this fun session.
Did I understand you to say that the Montgomery County had a frequent question? Uh,
Yes, all three jurisdictions, including Baltimore City, have
okay,
a kind of frequently asked questions. Yes.
okay. You
Yeah.
gonna,
Mhm.
well,
What's that?
I said, are you going to send that to us as well?
They are frequently asked questions?
Or is it online?
You mean ones for Prince George's County or the ones for that the
No,
other jurisdictions have?
I'm assuming that we're going to make up one for Prince.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
I
So
wanted,
the frequently asked questions, I do want to focus on that summary guide because that will inform the frequently asked questions. So we could essentially pull items out of there. And again, I think a lot of that it's likely to be the frequently asked questions on our site are likely to be very similar to the other sites because people have the same kinds of questions. But that does bring up something just to give you all a heads up about. There are some, at some point, there are some essentially policy decisions we'll have to make that in terms of how the program will run, items that aren't specified in the legislation. So just to give you an example of something that we'll have to think about is, so the legislation says that a single candidate can't get more than $250 from a single donor. What happens if they accept more than $250 from a single donor? That's not specified in the legislation. We'll have to decide what the consequences are for that. My understanding is that Montgomery County immediately kicks the candidate out of the program if they do that, because it's seen as a violation of a rule, and then that ends their ability to be in the program. So that's just one example of how to handle it. So we would have to think about, how we would want to handle that kind of situation. So, and there's probably a handful of other types of rules like that we'll have to develop because they're not specified in the legislation.
So your campaign treasurer has to really keep track of how much they have received, and when somebody's contributed $250, ensure that you don't actually cash any more checks or take any more contributions from them.
Right,
I mean,
because the problem
I guess if it
happen-
shows up through your website, either you have to program your website to not take it, or maybe you just have a quick return date. If it shows up and you return it the next day or the day after or whatever, then it's done. But
yeah, I think so. So thinking ahead, I know February. So Ms. Warner-Wiggins, can you draft? Yeah, this is another. This actually, can you draft a list of the things that we would need to look at from a policy perspective, so that March we're spending that March meeting doing all of those things to nail everything down. Because the February meeting, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. It is on February 14th. But I also do want to make sure that we're tackling the things that need to be tackled on that date as well. But then in March, we can come and we can nail down all those policy things to be appropriate. And I just want to put the caveat that, while we mirror other jurisdictions, Prince George's is Prince George's. And we can decide, what we want to do for whatever reason. Kicking them out. Oh man.
Well, Miss Warner-Wiggins. So what I'm getting is that what you're talking about is operationally dealing with when somebody does it. So yeah, I mean, there could be any number of things. There could be this finding, I guess, a separate thing and disregarding that one. I don't know, but I think there's more than one way to deal with this, or that in particular. But I think that's an example of things that will need to be worked out operationally. Because like you said, the legislation does not is not all encompassing, and it requires operations to do something in case there is a violation, and policy wise how this committee recommends we handle it.
Yeah, that's why I would like for Ms. Warner-Wiggins and Mr. Maddox, if you see anything between now and the March meeting that you feel like we would have to address as well as you review the legislation, providing that us as well, so that when we come in on March, and then also maybe getting us that by the end of February, so that we can all be looking at the policies that we have to decide on and come with our own conclusions, our own thoughts to work out as a group. So that by March, we are all coming in with our thoughts on how we can address that. Because to be quite frank, I more than agree your treasurer should be on it, but I'm also kind of hesitant to say, okay, let me kick you right out. So, I mean, I'm hesitant, but the group might be like, no, girl, this is public money, kick them out. So we're a group, we can decide together. But if we can get those by the end of February, so that we can really take time to look over the policies that we need to address and things that we need to think about, so we're coming in March hot, that would be really good. Okay. Yeah. Okie dokie. I think we are at the conclusion, guys. First of all, thank you so much, everyone who was able to make it. Thank you for all of the staff, Ms. Bynum, his name correct last time, Mr. Peter, Mr. Maddox, Satitra, Commissioner Satitra, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Nelson. Thank you all for your feedback, your integration, everything that you guys bring to the table works to make this a better commission, as well as great implementation. As always, thank you, Ms. Warner-Wiggins, for all that you do and helping us stay kind of on the good foot. I will see you guys between February 14th, and be safe and see you until then. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting at, I don't have the time,
7:12.
at 7:12.
Okay.
I second.
Second.
All right. All those say aye.
Happy-
Aye. Happy New Year, everybody.
See you later. Bye-bye.
See you all soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.